Hello, I'm Russ Williams, and I want to share something I've been working on recently. It's a Xamarin Forms line of business application with integrated conversational AI capabilities. Now, this is not just an embedded chat control in a line of business application. That capability is not new. What I'm going to show you now is better described as ubiquitous conversations seamlessly integrated into a rich mobile app experience where apps can trigger bot experiences and bots can trigger app experiences, and both can leverage the runtime context of the other. This synergy of conversation and rich user experience forms a complementary whole that's greater than either technology taken by itself. In this demo, I'll highlight various forms of this synergy, so you'll see how this new approach is different, and hopefully it'll give you a sense for how this approach could be leveraged to stretch the art of the possible and build a new type of solution that I call conversational applications. Just a quick bit of technical context before I launch into the demo. Here's what a solution looks like in Visual Studio for a conversational app. The first 4 projects here are the Xamarin Forms app, which can run on iOS, Android, and UWP. And the last 4 projects are the virtual assistant template bot. So here's the assistant, and here's the skill that implements all the conversational aspects of the demo I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm going to launch the app and apologize for my lack of user interface skills. Let me just minimize Visual Studio here, and I'll explain what you're looking at. Across the top here, we have 3 tabs. And in this first tab, we have an embedded chat control, which brings me to my first scenario. Now, as I said earlier, this capability is not new, but it doesn't mean that it's not important or critical to the concept of conversational applications. In fact, an assistant tab like this one becomes the face of the app. It becomes its persona and really brings the app to life, and there's no analog to that in a traditional line of business application. As you see here, this experience starts with a welcome message that can be tailored to the specifics appropriate for the individual application. The fact that this assistant tab has a chat control embedded in it means that users can have a two-way conversation where they just tell the app what they want, and the conversational application figures out how to get that done. For example, one of the most basic things a user could do here is ask a simple question. All right, let's move on now to the conversational app experiences. I mentioned that bots could trigger app experiences. Let me give you a sense of what that could look like. Let's say that this is a service application with 2 primary goals: empower technicians to be as productive and effective as possible out in the field, and allow organizations to extend their business processes to the edge of their business. A technician could use an app like this to start their day by asking, "Where are my service calls today?" Now in this scenario, we say the bot triggered the app experience because the activity the bot sent as a response actually triggered the line of business application to transition to the map tab. In the traditional model, all bot responses are shown in the conversational canvas. In this new model, bots can trigger application experiences that are appropriate for showcasing that particular bot response. This is quite valuable since currently it's not possible to render a map in the conversational canvas, but with this approach, neither is it necessary. The application simply navigates to an experience appropriate for the bot response, and in this case, the activity the bot returned included a list of geocoordinates of the service appointments you see on the map. In a different scenario, we could have just as easily transitioned to an image with hotspots or a line of business tab that had a custom calculator for some sophisticated what-if scenarios. Okay, let's move on to the next scenario I call App Informs Bot. Now, although we've transitioned to an immersive native map experience, it doesn't mean that conversation isn't still possible. You'll notice that the message field of the bot is being made available across the bottom of the app, so it's always accessible. This makes the entire line of business application conversational and allows for seamless contextual experiences. For example, as I touch a pushpin on this map, in the background, the application is communicating that fact to the bot by sending a message that sets the application-specific context property called current location to the Latin long of that pushpin. Now, this may not seem all that useful, but now that the bot is aware of the current context of the application, users can ask what would otherwise be ambiguous questions in a more natural interaction. So now we could ask the bot, "What equipment do I need for this service call?" Not only do we see the answer here, but if you take a look at the chat history, you'll see a trace message that was optionally provided for context's sake, which makes the history a little bit easier to read. Okay, let's move on to a scenario I call App Trigger Spot. Now, I'll admit this scenario is a bit contrived, but for the sake of the demo, assume that the work order tab was populated with a current customer when I tapped the push bin on the map just now. So let's switch to the work order tab now so I can show you what an App Trigger Bot experience looks like. So we're looking at the store layout for the currently selected customer, and it shows the various equipment the customer owns. The idea is that the customer has multiple appliances in a commercial kitchen, and so the experience would allow the tech to visually select a piece of equipment that they want to submit a work order for. So selecting an appliance here is an application event that's been coded to trigger a work order dialog, which shows how an application experience can seamlessly and synergistically transition into a conversational experience. Okay, this next scenario is something I call Device Triggers Bot, which looks like a pivot on App Triggers Bot, but the distinction is that it's not the app that triggers the bot, but the device that the app is running on that triggers it. So let me switch over to the Map tab. Imagine we've set up geofences all around the parts depot that technicians will need to visit to get repair parts. As the technician nears the parts depot, the geofence event handler could be coded to trigger a bot experience. I'll be using this hidden button to simulate a geofence event so you can see how this would look. So in my demo here, the geofence event triggered a conversation that only has one step, but it could have just as well triggered a much longer back and forth about maybe the most efficient way to enter some enormous parts depot, or perhaps where the tech should go to find the parts they're looking for. This brings me to the final scenario I wanted to talk about. I especially like this scenario, which I call Dialogue Triggers App Experience. Now, I hope you're getting the sense that this conversational application approach can be applied to any line of business application to make it a richer, more immersive, and productive experience. For this scenario, imagine I'm a new technician at Acme Manufacturing, and I haven't had a lot of training yet before they threw me out in the field, and I'm really starting to like this conversational experience that the field service app has. So let's say I'm on site to repair a broken dishwashing machine, and it's one of those fancy ones that can give you an error code that indicates what's wrong with it. Since I'm new, I don't know what the error code means, and I'm not exactly sure where to go to find the answer, but I have been having good luck using this conversational app, so I decided to throw caution to the wind and just ask it. Now at this point, we're in the first step of what's called a dialogue, and I could use the entry fields there to provide the make and model, or I could click the scan button to trigger an app experience from this dialog to scan the QR code that's on the back of the machine to provide the make and model information. Clicking the scan button instructed the dialog logic to trigger a scan step, the results of which were returned as the answers for that step the same way as filling in those entry fields would have. Okay, that's it. I hope I've made the case that what I've shown you is something new and that ubiquitous conversation can transform traditional line of business applications into modern conversational applications that provide a rich, immersive, and more productive application experience.